Welcome to The Noble Marriage, where we bring relatable, raw, and real conversations all about marriage and life. Hey, I'm Travis.
And I'm Adele.
Hey, babe.
And we are, hey, handsome. It's good to see you today.
It's good to see you too. You ready for episode 5?
Episode 5.
Yes.
Can you believe it?
We're ready.
Oh,
I don't know
Nala.
if I'm ready today. Hey, Nala.
Nala wants to say hey.
Welcome, Nala.
That purr's precious. Yeah, so we're at episode 5.
Yes, thank you guys for joining us all through these episodes. If you haven't watched the last 4, please go back, start at number 1, catch up to us here. We'll wait.
Yes.
We'll wait.
Yeah, and we would love to connect with you. Drop a comment. Where are you joining us from today? We love seeing how our channel is getting out all over the world.
Yes,
it's so exciting.
Every continent has reached out to us.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, and that is so much because of you guys. So thank you so much for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Because each and every time that you do that, YouTube starts to send our content out to more people. And that just means more marriages are getting healed.
Yes.
So thank you for supporting our ministry. And we are just so grateful.
Hey, Antarctica is a continent that I don't think we have somebody from that I know of.
If you're from Antarctica, please drop a comment below.
That'd be cool. Then we would have every continent.
Yeah. Cool. Last week, we talked all about the beginnings of our relationship and how we entered into it with so many unspoken, unmet expectations that really come from our family of origin.
It left us resentful, unforgiveness, bitterness.
Oh, yeah.
It left us as roommates in our marriage versus being connected and being emotional, having emotional intimacy with each other.
So destructive to our relationship and our marriage. Yeah. And so it's also the way for the enemy to start to get into the relationship and wreak havoc around disappointment, which I think is really where resentment starts to come in.
It does. We talked about that in 2 other episodes.
Mm-hmm. And so today's conversation is all about what was going on for you under the surface when we met, and things that I was just absolutely clueless about. It's those fig leaves. We talked about that in episode 1. Those fig leaves are strong, and it kept me from ever cluing in.
Yes, I would. At the time, I had done really good at mastering those fig leaves for myself, or at least I thought I had mastered fig leaves for myself.
Right. Because I do look back and I'm like, if I would have opened my eyes, I would have seen.
There's no doubt. There's red flags in our marriage
everywhere,
and hopefully we're going to talk about that. Right? Mm-hmm. At another point. Okay.
You caught me with a mouthful of water.
Yeah, we are going to go over fig leaves.
Yes.
Yeah. So I want to read part of the book that I wrote.
Yes.
And this is a lot of transparency.
This is about to get raw and real.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about that? Do you have sweaty armpit?
Well, I'll say this. If you have kids in your cars, put your earbuds in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something you want to be listening to around your little ears. But it's real life. It is what there's statistics of people in our world that are dealing with exactly what, and maybe we can share that later on. But
yeah, the sin has always been around, and sin really wants to wipe every single. It's not a man thing. It's a human thing.
It's a human
He
thing.
wants to wipe us both out. But I want to talk specifically about men today and the things that really keep men from being who it is God called us to be in our life, and how sin, there's an enemy, and it is intended for me to, when it hits me, man, I just want to be passive.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be lazy. I don't want to make decisions. I don't want to pray over my family whenever I'm feeling that way. I have the shame and condemnation that will come over me. It makes me small and little. It makes me pull away from people. It makes me isolate. And it's not a Travis thing.
No.
And I can't wait to talk about this. There's going to be freedom in this particular episode for those watching who they have addictions, have struggles, who have issues in their life that keeps us small.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
You got this.
I was determined to be a better man, faithful in my relationships, loyal to God, to be a better decision maker and leader. It was 2005, and I just met and started dating the most beautiful redhead I had ever seen. That's
Thanks.
you. Somehow I knew she was the one I would be with for the rest of my life. I could feel it deep inside me. However, she had no idea who she was getting involved with. She did not know my past poor decisions or the destructive behavior that had ruined previous relationships in my life. I was selfish and going after my own desires and neglecting my responsibilities. I was curious if other people had similar issues like I did. Why can't I control my behavior and decision making? Why does lustful desires continue to get the best of me? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me, Adele? Man, it was something that was plaguing my mind. Like I could not figure out how other people seemed to have their life all together. It occurred to me like other people were doing great in life. Other men, it occurred to me on the outside, were being leaders. Maybe their family looked well. They looked good at restaurants and out in public. And I'm like, maybe they have it all together. What is wrong with me? I can't seem to have enough facades to make my miserable thought process better, to make me be able to have good relationships and feel good about those relationships.
Wow. Have you ever felt this way? What is wrong with me? I know I have.
Let me tell you this. I felt like I was alone.
Yeah.
Like on an island. Like no one else knows what I'm experiencing. So I would put those fig leaves up and I definitely wouldn't share it.
Is that touching you right now?
Yeah. It's touching me because I'm recognizing the loss that I've experienced.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it too. Get the tissues. Tissue break.
Yeah. It's touching me because of that.
Yeah.
I know that that's just it. I know that there's so many things in my life, relationships, opportunities that I've squandered. That, I'm reminded of the prodigal son in the Bible who asks his dad, hey, give me my inheritance. I'm ready to take it and leave. And he does. He squanders everything he has. He ends up in a pig pen trying to just survive on their muck and mess, and he's wallowing in the pig pen. And man, what a poor decision that is when he had everything he needed with his father and where he was. And he chose to go back. And I see myself in that prodigal son, but going into that pig pen, I will do that sometimes whenever I'm making these poor decisions, and I just somehow, and I want to talk about that, is my willpower, but somehow I end up there.
Yeah. Yeah, God doesn't call you to be in the Pigpen.
No.
He calls you to be a priesthood in the kingdom.
He does. He does.
Okay, so keep reading because there's more.
Before meeting Adele, I lived alone for about 2 to 3 years and was only interested in fulfilling my lustful desires. At the time of meeting Adele, I was casually dating women and engaged in pornography and self-pleasure. As soon as I met Adele, I knew I wanted nothing to do with being with any other woman or pornography. In fact, I committed to not having any sexual contact with her. I committed to myself that I would be pure in heart and mind. I plan on accomplishing this with all of my willpower. And I also reached out to God and asked him, take away these desires of my heart. Have you ever done that? Tried to use your willpower to avoid sin? Tried to use your willpower to avoid sexual temptation? How has that worked for you?
Now that's a section of the book. And I love your transparency there. You know, the first time we were reading through this together, it was such an emotional time for us to really get present to just how lost we both were during that time. And, you know, listening to you read that, it is just, I'm so grateful for your transparency so that others can see that there's another way. Because we didn't have people speaking into us. And we weren't seeking it, you know.
Right.
We weren't looking for it either. But I would love for you to share, you know, you had a lot of determination and willpower. What was that like?
It really is exhausting. The determination and willpower to stop doing something that you have been creating a habit to do. It is very difficult. The thoughts in my head would be telling me to do that. It would be very similar to if you have road rage when you're driving in traffic. And you have road rage every single day and you are screaming at the traffic around you. And then the next day you're like, you know what? I'm not going to have road rage today. And then at 5 o'clock, your body is telling you, you need to have road rage right now. Like everything around you should be making you really upset and you should have road rage. And
it works the same for like dopamine dumps too. Masturbation, self-pleasure.
Yeah.
Our bodies start looking for that the more we do it. Excuse me, the more we do it.
Yes. And this is what's interesting is the way the enemy works, and you may experience this in your own life, is he minimizes the sin prior. It's not that big of a deal. No one's going to know. Just go ahead and do it. It's just one drink. He's like, he will minimize. The enemy is going to minimize the sin. He's going to say, it's not that big of a deal. It's just one drink. It's just this one thing. He minimizes that. And then immediately after the sin, he maximizes it. Maximizes the lies going on in my head.
The shame, the condemnation.
Shame and condemnation.
Guilt.
It is literally like a 50-pound shame blanket that comes over me. It's heavy and weighted, and it feels consuming. And then I'm like, I'll never do that again. Never do that again. God,
and
please help me. Please help me. I'll never do that again. I'm definitely going to be good from now on. And I mean it, and so do you. I mean it. But my willpower just isn't enough.
Yeah.
And I imagine you've found that out. You can be very disciplined and there's some things you can really discipline yourself around. But The enemy still has a plan and a scheme for you. There's something. It might not be pornography for you. It might be gambling, or it might be many other things. It might be shopping, eating.
Eating, yeah.
So many things out there that are not for us.
Yeah, they're not healthy if we're trying to fill a void.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was really going on, is you had a void and you're trying to fill it with everything that you could. And, you know, Paul talks about this in Romans, where I do the things that I don't want to do.
Right. Let me read it. Let me read it. It's Romans 7:15. I do not understand what I do. For what I want to do, I do not do. Now I lost my place.
Like abstaining from, you know, watching pornography, or abstaining from gambling, or abstaining from eating sugar.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah. Or I want good, healthy relationships.
Right?
I
A good,
want,
healthy body.
right. I want to take really good care of myself and exercise and eat healthy. And
I want great finances.
yeah, I want to steward my finances really well. I want to save my money. I want to spend wisely. I want to tithe to my church. I want good relationships with the people around me, with my spouse and my kids. I really want very effective communication between the people that are important to me. I want to take really good care of everything that God has blessed me with.
Yeah.
So it says, I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do. But what I hate, I do.
I do. Why? Why do we do that?
Listen, John 10:10 gives us the best description of why we do that.
Yes.
The thief, the enemy, Satan and his demons. This is Jesus talking. He comes only to steal and to kill and to destroy. And then Jesus says, but I have come to give you life.
And
to the full.
Abundantly.
Yeah, an abundant, full life.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, there's this enjoyment of sin because of our fallen nature. And there's this hating of the sin, right? Because what it brings on, the destruction that it does, and we're going to talk even more about like what happens to our brain. But talk a little bit more about the loving the sin and hating the sin.
Yeah, there's a concept that I learned, and lean into this. This is going to help set some people free from a mindset about addiction. Like, you know, one of my biggest mindset as a police officer around addiction is, what's wrong with them? Why can't they just stop doing that? Right. Why can't they just stop consuming whatever substance it is? Can't they see they're ruining their family?
Yeah.
Why can't they stop?
What a mindset.
Yeah, that was my mindset in law enforcement. But then I fell into addiction that had me in the same bondage.
Destructive behavior.
Same destructive bondage behavior with prescription pills.
And pornography.
Yes.
Yeah, drinking.
Yeah, all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I am deep into that. So this is what I want to share, is there's a difference between want and like. There's a difference. There's want and like. Want. That's my sinful nature, my body.
Are you saying want?
W-A-N-T. Want. Want.
Sounds like won't. W-O-N-T. That's
I'm
my
from
southern,
I'm
my
from
southern man there.
South Carolina. W-A-N-T. There's a difference between...
The north we say A is want. Sorry, I just had
want.
to... Want.
Want. Want.
Sorry, I just had to.
Want and like. Listen, there's a difference between want and like. Want is my sinful nature, my body, the things that, my body has desires and wants that my spirit conflicts with.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
And that is the addiction.
Yeah.
But I don't like it. I don't like it. There's a difference between me wanting something and me liking something.
Because there's this self-hatred that comes with it.
It absolutely is.
Oof.
Listen.
That's good.
Yeah, I hope you really get that. And those on the other side of addiction who cannot understand addiction, I hope that sinks in. There's a difference between want and like.
Yeah, and there's another reason why. Well, let's actually talk about the past destructive behaviors that you had and how these things are strongholds.
Yes.
And because it's a stronghold, and we're going to talk even more about like the enemy in so many episodes to come, but when there are strongholds in a person's life, and let's just talk about your life, the reason willpower is temporary is because there is literally a force that is against your willpower, that is out to tempt and slowly have you make small compromises that will eventually have you step over the line again. And once you step over the line, I'm here now. I messed up.
Yes. Yes.
I failed. I'm so not good enough. Why get back? I mean, I might as well stay in this behavior.
Shame will keep me and will keep you repeating horrible, destructive decisions over and over and over.
Every single marriage we've worked with, including our own, has said, especially around betrayal, I did not want to do this. What I want is my marriage and my family.
Yeah.
And yet, there's still behaviors that are happening. And I can't wait to get to like why all of that's happening. But you're going to need to keep following this series to hear more about that. But it's because there's something much deeper that's driving these destructive behaviors.
So I want to talk about how willpower just isn't enough to help us with these things that we keep going back to, that these destructive behaviors, and you know what yours are, that you keep going back to. In this willpower, it works for a period.
Right.
But why can't I get it to work even more than that? I mean, what keeps me not being able to do that? Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about the brain.
Yes. Let's talk about specifically supernormal stimuli, because this is referring to a stimulation of the brain that's much higher than what we can receive in reality. So that's like gambling, pornography,
cocaine,
McDonald's
drive-through.
No. Does it have the same impact?
It does.
Wow,
Absolutely.
I didn't know
Fast
that.
food, any processed food. Supernormal. That's the
reason. That's why sugar is so addicting.
Yes, that's the reason you would rather have processed food and sugar rather than a broccoli.
Yep,
but if you eat broccoli and you don't eat processed food, you're going to enjoy the broccoli.
It's so true.
But if you eat McDonald's, you're not going to like broccoli.
Yeah.
Yeah, so supernormal stimuli. It affects the brain very similar to cocaine, TV, social media, pornography. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's many more. You know,
the
there was
more
a study.
Technology that we have, the worse it's getting.
Yeah, technology is a big one. We're just not gaming. Oh, video gaming is one of the largest one. We're just not meant to. Your brain has not evolved to be able to handle that type of stimulus without becoming addicted.
Right. You know, and there's people that, once a month, I'm not addicted, or, once a week, I'm not addicted. And I would love to just share like what is an addiction? What does that even mean? So I'm curious, what would you say is an addiction in your words?
This would be my definition, my thoughts around it. It would be repeatedly going back to something that is not God honoring, that I would choose to keep going back to.
Yeah, that you know is unhealthy for you.
I would know it's unhealthy, and I know it's not God honoring.
Right. Yeah, because, we do hear, oh, I don't have an addiction. I only watch porn every so often. But if you find yourself going over the line and you have no control of stopping yourself, that desire is so strong that you end up stepping over the line of whatever that is, that's an addiction. And that's something that's not healthy. And that's what we're talking about here. And, you've got to find out, like, what is driving those behaviors, right? Because if you don't have any clarity, how do you know what to do?
I do know now. I know what was driving those behaviors, but then I sure couldn't tell you anything. I had no clue, and there's no way I would talk about this with anybody back then.
Right.
I would never open up and share with somebody, hey, listen, I'm doing this behavior, and I have no idea how to stop.
And you're the only one that has this problem.
Right.
Other
I did.
people don't
I thought
struggle.
that I was isolated, and no one else had the struggles that I had.
Yeah.
They do, by the way. 8 billion people on this planet.
Yeah.
We have
true.
issues.
So I've really recognized there's a huge difference between willpower and seeking after freedom. Like, they're not even the same thing.
No, they're not even related to each other.
Freedom, you get like lasting healing, lasting freedom. Like, you don't end up going back to those things because you're transformed. Willpower is just not enough.
It's not. And as we're doing this, where in your life are you depending on willpower alone instead of seeking after the freedom that's available for you?
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say thank you for your transparency today. Thanks for being raw and getting on the court for other people to see. And I am just so grateful for who you are. I love you dearly.
Thank you. Thank you.
And, I love you even more just knowing like what you were going through at that time. I can't even imagine what that was like.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm grateful for you that you even choose to be with me and still be with me. And I know that this particular season of our life, being able to look back at it, is probably hurtful for you. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks. There's not hurt. There's sadness, I think.
Yeah.
Sadness for just what we didn't know and for what the years that we lost because of not having Jesus and not knowing how to do marriage and life. So I'm glad that hurt is not there. It's not a pain. But I definitely have a loss.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Yeah. I have more gratitude. Thank you for my coffee and the peanut butter bites. That was delicious.
My famous protein bites.
Yes, thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for looking handsome today.
Thanks.
I'm very grateful.
I feel like I'm turning red.
Hey, thanks for joining us today, and we hope to see you in the next episode. See you later.
Bye.
Bye. We've been supposed to doing. That was a good one. That was the accent.